next guideline which we will be discussing here, that is the STARD. Okay, and STARD guidelines are used for reporting the diagnostic accuracy. Now there are studies which are done on the diagnostic devices. So to check the diagnostic accuracy of any of the diagnostic device, like whether it is like any diagnostic device, and generally these diagnostic devices are the medical devices, in vitro diagnostic devices, or any other type of diagnostic device can also be there. So if there is any alternative diagnostic device which is already available in the market, so in comparison to that, now, so suppose, for example, for checking the blood glucose level, there is a traditional glucometer which we are using, okay? But now which requires pricking of the finger. But nowadays, there are certain devices which are available which are touch. So you just have to touch the finger, and then on that, you will get your details about what is your blood glucose level, okay? So that is the older device is the glucometer, and the newer devices which are already placed in the market and which are already under study also, that you just have to touch your finger on the device and then all your details will be measured. Like you will get your blood glucose level. You do not have to prick your finger again and again for checking your blood glucose level. Okay, so these are the two kind of devices, like a device which is already placed, so that is which is already placed and successfully, not only placed, but it is successfully placed in the market, and the device which is new. So we have to check the diagnostic accuracy of the new device which is launched. So for that, the studies are done, the clinical trial studies are done, and the comparison is made between the alternative, between the device which is already placed, okay, and the new device. So those studies are known as the studies which are done to report the diagnostic accuracy of a diagnostic device. Okay, so for reporting such kind of study, STARD guidelines are used. So STARD guidelines, STARD stands for Standards for Reporting Studies of Diagnostic Accuracy. Okay, so now so it consists of 25 element checklist and a flow diagram which is specifically designed for reporting the diagnostic accuracy. So the flow diagram here which is used in the STARD guidelines, it is somewhat different than that of the CONSORT guideline. So I'll show you that flow diagram also, and we will discuss the STARD guidelines as well. See, this is a STARD checklist, but before that, there are certain terminologies which you should understand before going through this. So let's discuss that first. Okay, so now these are the terminologies. That first, what is the definition of diagnostic accuracy? So diagnostic accuracy study evaluates the ability of one or more medical tests to correctly classify study participants and having a target condition or not. So the diagnostic accuracy of any diagnostic device, it can be measured on the basis that that particular diagnostic device is able to evaluate the condition, the study participant, that whether in the study participant that target condition is present or not. Okay, so this is the ability. So this is how we can discuss the ability of a so that ability is checked for one or more medical tests in the diagnostic accuracy study. Now that target condition, it can be a disease, it can be a disease stage or a response or benefit from a therapy or any event or condition in the future. And what is that medical test? So that medical test can be an imaging procedure, it can be a laboratory test, it can be any elements from history and physical examination, or any combination of these. Okay, so this is which is done in a diagnostic accuracy study. Now the test whose accuracy is being evaluated means the diagnostic test which is under study, that is known as index test, and the study and in comparison to it, the accuracy of that index test is being tested, that is known as a reference standard. Now if the test results, they are characterized as negative or positive, a cross tabulation of index test results against those of the reference standard can be used to estimate the sensitivity. So sensitivity is what? Sensitivity of a test is the proportion of participants with the target condition who have a positive index test. Now if certain tests, they give you the report of positive or negative, and certain tests are there which gives you a certain value. Okay, suppose if you check the blood glucose level, so blood glucose level, in that you will get the certain value. Okay, and with the help of that value, it will be diagnosed that the person is having diabetes or not. It will not give you a result as negative or positive. And if you get tested for any condition, like for COVID-19, for example, so it will not give you any value. Okay, it will give you the test as positive or negative. So in case if the index test is giving the value as positive or negative, so sensitivity of that index test means that the proportion of the participants are with the target condition in which the positive index, in which the index test is giving the result as positive, and its specificity is the proportion without the target condition who have a negative index test. So in case, so sensitivity is when the condition, target condition, if it is present in the participants and the index test is positive, and the specificity means that when the target condition is absent in the population and the index test is negative. Okay, so that is the sensitivity and specificity. Then predictive values are the other accuracy statistics can be estimated, that positive and negative predictive values of the test, and the confidence intervals around the estimates of the accuracy that can be calculated as the precision. Then there is the area under the curve, okay, which is being studied, that is to test the positivity cutoff. So that is what, and that then what is the intended use of the medical test? So medical test can be used for diagnosis, screening, staging, monitoring, surveillance, prediction, or for the prognosis of any disease. Okay, so now we will discuss about the checklist. So what's there in the checklist? So first you have to write about the title and the abstract same. So what is being studied in the diagnostic, like in the test? So that, like in the study, that you have to mention that what is the measurement of accuracy, whether the sensitivity, specificity, predictive value. So what is the measurement of the accuracy? So that information you have to give in the title. And then abstract, you have to write the structured abstract in the structured format, and then you have to provide the structured summary of study design, methods, result, and conclusion. The next is the introduction. So introduction, you have to give the clinical background and what is the intended use and what is the clinical role of the index test. That information you have to give, and what is the study objective and hypothesis. So the introduction is also written in the same way as it is written for the other studies. Then you have to write the method. So in method, like whether the study is a prospective study or it is a retrospective study, means like prospective study means that in which we have included the participants and we do not know that they are suffering from that target condition or not, and then we study that index test, or we conduct the index test or reference standard test, and then it is confirmed that whether the target condition is present or not. Then retrospective study, in which we include the participants, recruit the participants, in which we know that the target condition is present. And then to check the accuracy of the index test, we again conduct that index test to find out that whether it is giving the result, exact result or not. Okay, so whatever type of study design is followed, that you have to mention. Then after that, you have to write about the participants. So what is the eligibility criteria, inclusive or inclusion or exclusion criteria for the recruitment of the participants? On what basis the participants were identified, like from their symptoms, or whether the result which they have got from the previous test done, or whether those participants, they are included in the registry, means they have participated in same type of trial, so they have been recruited from there. And then you have to give information about the setting, location, and what is the recruitment period. So what is the first date of recruitment and when the recruitment ended. Okay, then the test method. So first you have to explain about the index test, how it is done. Then you have to explain about the reference standard, how it is done. Then why you have chosen this particular reference standard. If there are 2 to 3 reference standards, if they are present, then why you have chosen this reference standard. In case there is only one reference standard test which is available, then you do not have to write that why you have chosen, because there is no choice. But in case if there is a choice, then you have to write about the rationale for choosing the reference standard. Then you have to write about the definition and rationale to test the positivity cutoffs and result categories of the index test. Okay. Then you have to write about the definition of the rationale for to test that how the positivity cutoff for the index test is studied and how the positivity cutoff for the reference standard is studied. Then you have to write that whether clinical information and reference standard results are available or not to the performance related to the index test and also related to the reference standard. Then you have to give information about the analysis. So what is a method which is used for comparing the diagnostic accuracy of index test and reference standard? How the data which is obtained related to the index test or related to the reference standard is handled, how the missing data is handled, how the analysis was performed, and how the sample size is determined. Then after that, you have to write about the result. So in the result, first you have to write about the flow of participants. And for explaining that flow of participants, you can use a flow diagram. And now this flow diagram is different as from that of the console flow diagram. So I will show you that what flow diagram you have to use here and what are the baseline demographic characteristics of the participants. Okay, then what is the severity of the disease in the particular participant? Okay, so what is the time interval which is there between conducting the index test and with the reference standard? So that you have to write. Then you have to report the test result, the results which are obtained, and if any adverse event, if it is reported while conducting the index test or with the reference standard, so that you have to mention. Then after that, the discussion where you have to write about the study limitation. Okay, what is the generalizability of the study? What is the strength of the study and the interpretation of the result? And how this, what is the clinical role and intended use of the index test and how it is beneficial from now on from the other alternative methods which are already available to test a disease. And then after that, you can provide the additional information like the registration number, where the registration number of the clinical trial and where it is registered, and where the full protocol, if the full protocol can be assessed, so where this full protocol can be assessed, and if there are any funders, so you can write about what is the role of funders. Okay, and who are the funders and what is the role of funders, so that also can be explained. So this is a checklist. This is the same checklist which is given in the slide. Okay, but I have used this checklist because in the slide it is not clearly visible, so that's why I've explained to you by using this checklist. So now let me show you the flow diagram. Okay, so this is the flow diagram. So now first here you have to write about the eligible participants, who are the potentially eligible participants. So number of participants you have to write. Then after screening the participants on the basis of the inclusion and exclusion criteria, number of participants who are excluded, then you have to provide the reason that why these participants are excluded. Then you have to write about the number of eligible participants who actually participated in the study. And then you have to write the number of participants, those who have not, on which the index test was not conducted. Then you can write the reason also that why the index test was not conducted on them. The reason can be because they have withdrawn this from the study, because there is no point of contact. Okay, so that those can be the reasons. Then after that, you can write the actual number of participants who are subjected to index test. Now, depending upon the result which is obtained from after the index test is conducted, the participants, they can be divided into three groups. One group where the index test is negative, second group where the index test is positive, and the third group where the index test is inconclusive, means neither negative nor positive. We do not know actually that what is the result. Okay, so here you have to write the number of participants in which the index test is negative. Then here you have to write the number of participants in which the index test is positive. Then here you have to write the number of participants in which the index test is inconclusive. Okay, and then you have to write the number of participants who has not been then after that, after testing the index test, now the participants will be subjected to reference standard. So first you have to write about number of participants who are not subjected to reference standard test. So then you have to give then you can write the reasons also that why they have not been subjected to reference standard. Then and for all these three groups, you have to write the number of participants who are subjected to reference standard. So this you have to report for all the 3 groups. And then after that, you have to provide the final diagnosis. So for first group, the final diagnosis, the number of participants in which the condition is present, number of participants in which the condition is absent, and number of participants in which the result is inconclusive. So this same you have to provide, the same diagnosis you have to provide for all the 3 groups. So this is the flow diagram. This is slightly different from the consort flow diagram. So by using this flow diagram, you can explain the flow of participants in the result section of the research article when you're writing about the diagnostic accuracy using the STARD checklist. Okay, so this flow diagram and the STARD checklist which I have just shown you, you can download it from the Equator network, directly from the Equator network. Okay, understood? Is it clear?